Meet the author. Today I have Willow Aster here. She is a romance author. Willow, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you could be here. So we're going to be talking kind of about a bunch of different things today, but one of the big things I want to talk about is your newest book. But before we jump into that, I always kind of like to ask an icebreaker question. So this one is not too challenging. Are you more of a Pepsi or Coke girl?
Coke.
Coke? Okay.
Yes, I'm kind of obsessed with it. But I will drink Pepsi in a pinch. I will. I'm not one of those who can't. So what about you?
I have to pick Coke. I have stopped drinking soda as much now. If I drink a Coke, it's normally like getting one of those like Slurpees or Ices at the movies. That's like my cheat day with Coke. I just drink a lot of sweet tea.
I love sweet tea too, but I'm trying not to drink as much of that either, but I love both of those things.
I try to let myself have limit to one a day, but sometimes it's just a longer day and I have more. My boyfriend always likes to joke that part of my blood is not blood and water. It's also tea that's like going through my veins. A little bit of an issue, but it's okay. Well, one of the first things I want to do is just, if people don't know who you are, just kind of introduce us to who is Willow Aster.
Well, it's me, and I love to write. I've been writing for a very, very long time, but started publishing in 2013, and so I'm just still plugging away over here, writing my little guts out.
And you live in, you said Minnesota, so kind of walk us
through.
You've lived a few places. What's your favorite place that you've lived so far in your life?
Well, I miss living in California. I grew up in San Jose and also some in the South in Tennessee and in Texas, but I miss seeing more of the ocean. I miss that so much. But I love the people in Minnesota, and it's a more laid back state of mind here. I feel like sometimes it's certainly not as much traffic. So there are pros and cons. The winter is a con for me, but I love it. And I live here with my family. I have 2 adult children now. Like I've got one that we just celebrated his graduation party this weekend. So it's been a hectic, I've been at the airport twice this morning. It's just been a hectic time. And then I have an older daughter who's married. And so, yeah.
That's awesome.
Staying busy.
So I have to ask, as a girl who is from Texas, where did you live in Texas?
I was born in Killeen, and then I lived in Dallas also.
Okay. I'm from East Dallas. I don't know if you Rockwall, Texas.
Yes.
So
yes.
Little small town east of Dallas, and then now obviously I'm in Oklahoma. But I just had to ask when you said that you lived in Texas for a time, because while I love Oklahoma, my heart will always be, part of it will be in Texas, being where I'm from.
Yes, I get that totally. And I lived in Collierville, Tennessee, so it was a small town in Collierville, or in Tennessee.
I've always wanted to go to Tennessee. That's on my bucket list. I've never been.
It's beautiful.
I'd really like to visit. So I have a stack here. Let me see if I can grab a lot of your books. So the first, got a lot of them here with me today, but I know we're going to focus mainly on your newest series. So this is Unforgettable, and it is the first book in the Landmark Mountain series, but you have a new book coming out in 2 days now, on Thursday?
And I have 1 copy. I'm waiting on the rest to get here, but yeah, this one comes out on Thursday, so I'm excited about
that. Such a great cover. Okay, well, kind of give us a little bit of a teaser. What can people expect for this next book in your series?
This next book is Second Chance Romance. The series is a small town romance series, and it's a set of 5 siblings who live in Landmark Mountain, Colorado, and each story is about a sibling. So in Unforgettable, we have Scarlett, and then this one will be about Theo and Sophie. and they've been apart for a very long, they were high school sweethearts, and they've been apart for 8 years. She left suddenly without a very good explanation and is now back, and he wants nothing to do with her now, but it's not over. So
I read both of the books. So I read Unforgettable. That was like my introduction to the series. And I really enjoyed that story. Scarlett was full of witty banter and stuff. And that was, I mean, her and Jameson, the chemistry was phenomenal. If you people who haven't read Unforgettable, again, it's right here. What was so fun for me about this book is it literally starts with a one-night stand, and then it ends up being her boss. And I was like, this is fantastic. Like, and she obviously doesn't like that it's her boss because she wanted to be the one to take over the family resort. So I loved this book, the banter in this book. But I honestly think someday the chemistry in this one, and you could just feel the tension between Theo and Sophie. I think it was phenomenal, and I'm so excited for people to get to read it because it was so good. And I love that you put animals in your books too. I love that Theo is the vet that like goes all around, but then you have the dogs in the first book too. I love books that have animals in it.
Well, book 3 will have some animal, but especially book 4, because book 4 I'm excited about for that reason. I love animals, so yeah, they're all in there.
So but I have to ask some characters just in these books, but also just, again, you have a lot of other books. Do you take inspiration from people in your everyday life and put them into your characters when you're writing, or do you just kind of brainchild them and they just come out of nowhere?
I have before. I have done that with characters, or like a compilation of people, like several characteristics from several people I know, put it into one character sometimes, but not always, not every character, but yeah, sometimes.
Do you have any people? Do you have any people in this series that you would say you've pulled, or were these all just kind of created?
These were more just kind of like, I love quirky characters kind of in all my books. I feel like that's what I'm drawn to writing, at least somewhere in the story. And I have known a lot of funny people and like older people. So it wasn't a stretch for me to write like the Golden Girls, those 3.
Love them.
Pappy, I adore Pappy. I wish I knew Pappy because I just love him so much.
Pappy has to say all the way through, I'm warning you now, Pappy has my heart. He better be there for all of it.
Yes. And I feel like deserves second chance of love as well. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
But I wish I knew someone just like Pappy, and I don't, but he has my heart.
Love Pappy. Pappy and the Golden Girls definitely make me laugh multiple times.
Oh, good. Pappy is actually mostly in Autumn Nights. That's where we first meet him. And yeah, but he had to be in Jameson's story too because he's his grandfather. So, and he's in all of them. Yeah.
So talking about Autumn Nights for a minute, then we'll kind of switch over. You have a special reason that you included a lot of stuff in Autumn Nights. I know we've kind of talked about this on the side, that you have a few deaf friends. So kind of talk about what that was like, being, inclusive and trying to add that to this book and how you went about writing it.
Well, from as long as I can remember, I've wanted to know sign language, and I took classes, but I just haven't been very good at it. And I have a lot of deaf friends, and kind of in various levels of deaf and hard of hearing. And in my favor, a lot of them are excellent lip readers, which has not worked out so well for me in my learning process because it's like they just help me cheat too well. So even the classes that I took, it ended up being where we would just really he would be reading my lips most of the time, and I would still be trying but not getting it right. So it was kind of comical, but I still am on a quest to learn sign language. Anyway, all that said, I had a lot of help. I wanted to do it right, and there's not a lot in fiction with deaf characters and to how the rules about writing it. You can find arguments about it all over the place, but not like a set way to write it. So I got 4 sensitivity readers for the book, and they helped. One in particular just went above and beyond. So I credit her for, I credit all of them, but really any mistake that I might have made, and I'm sure I did, but is not because of them, because they did such an excellent job of trying to help me get it right. So
that's awesome that you took the time to want to do it right and everything. I just think it gets incredible. And as someone who, I took sign language for 6 years, so I am by no ways fluent, but
I'm in awe that you took 6 years. That's amazing.
I had a lucky opportunity when I was in middle school and high school to have an ASL option. So I decided to take that. So I know a few signs, like I can sign my name and I can carry on a conversation to a point, but I try to include it with my work sometimes. And even that's, super challenging. So the fact that you wanted to do that with, writing, and the fact that you did it right, I think that's just incredible, because there's not a ton of people out there that we see, with really including deaf characters or hard of hearing characters, and how that's challenging, and people lip read, but also ASL, it's a beautiful language, and it's so different than English, because even the syntax structure and everything is so different. So just knowing all that and putting that into your writing, I thought was fantastic. Like, I think it's so incredible that you did that.
Thank you so much. It's such a obviously visual language that it was challenging to have it come across the way I wanted it to. So I'm really grateful for anyone that reads it and feels that they got it and knew that I was trying. So thank you.
No, that's awesome. So maybe a little bit different, but still talking about your writing. What is your typical writing process like when you sit down and you start to write a book? What is that like for you?
Well, I'm really trying to get better at having more plotted out ahead of time. And I usually do have the basic structure of the story. I know the beginning, I know the ending, I know the characters and how they're, tied together. It's the between stuff that can hang me up sometimes. So I would say like the 30% mark, the 60% mark is usually where I go, oh, and I've got to go back and start reading it from the top and just making sure I'm still on track and stuff. But I'm, what is it, a plantser, I guess, where I'm a pantser and a plotter. And
I was going to say,
one all the way.
So I had never heard of that until I started doing this. And then I've had multiple people say that they were either a plotter or a pantser. And I was, what is this? And then I was talking to other people about it. So that's always one of my questions that I like to ask. So I like that you're a combination of both, that you try to do both sides of it. And I was talking to Erin, so she's one of our mutual friends, who's also an author. But she was telling me something really cool about you. So you like to edit your books as you go along. How is that for you, that you really, like, as you're doing things, a lot of people just type and type and type and type and they don't look back, but you're not necessarily like that. How was that process like for you?
Well, I edited for years and years for other authors and as I wrote too, but so I feel like if I go too far and if something isn't quite right in the story, which is more than just editing, but if it's not quite right, it kind of hangs me up for a while, and I feel like I have to settle it before I can move on. And a lot of people will say, just keep going and you can go back and fix that. And So it isn't as much about the mistakes, although I do correct all those too. When I read back through, if I see anything, I definitely fix that as I'm going. But for me, it works, and it makes the process at the end so much faster. And I don't usually have that huge dread like when I get it back from my editor or proofreaders, because it's pretty clean already. I've usually gone over it a lot by the time I've sent it. So it feels close. So it's
That's
what
awesome.
works for me, but it's not what I recommend for everyone. I know it's probably better to just keep that flow going and keep writing, but I can't seem to do that for most of mine anyway.
That's cool that you have that editing background too, though, which allows you to kind of be able to do that as you're going and things like that. So if that's how it works for you, I don't think, you know, after doing all these, everyone's always said that there's no right answer to how to write a book, and there's no right, you know, so many people do things so differently. So if that's what works for you, then that's awesome. And doesn't mean that can't work for someone else, or that they shouldn't have their own writing style of how they go about and do things.
Right. I'm trying to remember who I heard recently say that they did that too, and I was surprised. And they had a term for it, which I can't remember what it was. But I was like, okay, yeah, that's me. So
that's awesome. Where would you feel like you are most inspired when you're writing books?
Like, where do I like to write the most, or what inspires me the most to write a story?
We'll do both. We'll start with first, where do you like to write the most?
I really like to write at my house. And right now I've got my desk. I used to have my desk downstairs in a kind of sunroom type place, but it didn't have a door, which at that time was a little bit of a challenge because I was kind of in the main area of the house. Now it's in my bedroom, my desk is, and I like it. I would like my own office that had the, you know, where nothing else was in there but my book stuff, but I don't have that right now. So, and then everything inspires me. Watching show, really, I feel like more than watching a show and feeling like, oh, that's a good idea. It's more like my mind just relaxes finally, and I can chill, and stories start to come when I'm more relaxed. And you know, so anytime I'm feeling stressed or frazzled, or even if I'm under a deadline and I know like I need to be writing 5,000 words a day and panicking if it's not coming, I will just go watch something or take a walk or something that's not sitting at my desk and get inspired that way.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I want to take a little detour for half of a second. I like to do this thing on here where I have authors, especially when they have multiple books, try to describe their book in one word. So I don't know if we'll go through the whole list because there's quite a bit, but we'll go through at least a few of these and have you try to guess or put them together in one word. But maybe we'll start with, since you have a copy of Someday, if you want to hold it up again, and then I'll have you describe that in one word if you could.
Redemption.
Redemption.
I don't know.
I feel like that's pretty fair.
Is that a good word for it?
It's a good one. All right, we won't go directly to the next one of the series. Let's jump around. Okay. We'll do Autumn Nights.
Oh, this is hard. Playful.
Okay. I have Summertime now.
Roller coaster.
I like that one. Okay, let's see. Skip around. In the Fields.
Poignant. Bittersweet. Heartbreaking, but fulfilling.
Few words for that one.
Angsty for that one.
It's Good one. Okay, and I'll let you wrap up on Unforgettable.
Beginnings. I don't know.
Could be a good one. Start of a new series, start of a new story, meeting family. I like it. It's a lot of new beginnings in that series. Animals, just because there's dogs, and I really like the dogs.
I'm sporting my Happy Cow logo.
That's incredible. I love that so much.
I was going to wear my Lucia and Delgado t-shirt, but I picked this one instead today.
I like it. I like the Happy Cow. Reading that, I was just like, man, I want to just go down the street to my own little Happy Cow. Makes me want to just get in my car and go visit somewhere. And then I was like, oh, wait, I don't have that.
No, I would love to have a landmark mountain nearby.
Go visit a resort town. It's been a long time. I've been to Colorado since I was really, really small. So
yeah, I don't remember. It made me want to go back too, because I haven't in so long. So
what made you want to put this series, the Landmark Mountain series, set in Colorado?
It felt like a good, I don't know, it felt great for all the animal aspects and the different seasons, the mountains, all the things that I think of when I think of Colorado.
Okay. With this series, do you have, I know this is hard to ask authors, or maybe it doesn't have to just be this series, it can be all of your series. Do you have a favorite character that you've ever written? I know it's like asking you to pick your children.
No. My favorite book is In the Fields because I feel like it's an important book. I spent the most time on that book. It has the most important message, in my opinion. But as far as characters, that's a hard one. I'm partial to Ian and True Love Story. There are definitely ones I love Zach in Autumn Nights. I like the girls too. It's not like I just like men, but I do have some favorites. Yes.
That's awesome. So you answered my other next question then, if you have a favorite book or not. So.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's good. I love it. I'm happy when sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to pick and choose. And I'm always curious, especially when you get to write so many other stories, if there's one that really stuck out to you or not. And I think that feeling like that one that has the most important message is definitely a good reason for that to be your favorite. So love that. So I have another question for you now that is a little bit not writing related. So when you're not writing, what is your favorite thing to do?
Read and hang out with my family. We're tight. We're really tight family, so I love being with them. But yeah, reading. I read all the time. I don't sleep always at night, so I always have a book or 2 or 5 going.
I understand the 2 or 5. I feel like that's constantly me. But there was a point in time that I used to only think I could commit to reading one book at a time because I was like, I can't deal with too many other worlds and different stories. And then I started kind of adding more in, and now I have like 4 or 5 going at once. And people always ask, how do you do that? And I try to keep my genre separated. Like I'll read a romance and a thriller and a fantasy. I'm like, it's so different. It doesn't even matter.
I'm able to pull it off too. I've managed.
I always ask people, do you watch different TV shows at the same time? Because it's like the same thing, honestly.
Exactly. Yep. Agree.
Glad we're on the same page with that one.
Yes.
I have another fun question for you. So what is one thing, and you may have to think about this one for a second. What is one thing that maybe is a fun fact that most people don't know about you?
Oh, that's hard because I've told a few things on myself at this point. Hmm. Well, I always have a squishy ball or 12 near at my desk area and pretty rocks. So I've got these beauties.
Ooh.
And they're really smooth and they help me like when I'm in all sizes. So I'm either like when I'm plotting, I'm either doing this and like or just like trying to think. So
I love that. I would never have known those two things if you wouldn't have just told me that. So
I don't think I've never shared that with anyone, Michaela. So.
I feel special. Thank you. All right. Well, when we're getting towards the end of this, I want to just talk about, again, your newest series. Obviously, we want to promote your new book coming out on Thursday. So let's just talk a little bit more again about this series in particular and some things that people, maybe if they haven't picked up the Landmark Mountain series yet, what they can expect when they go into reading it. And then some maybe not spoilers, but sneak peeks people can look forward to with Someday coming out on Thursday.
Yes, I feel like it's a series that kind of will range from, like, Unforgettable felt lighthearted and minimal angst a little bit, but not super heavy. Quirky characters, and then Someday has more hard-hitting topics. It's definitely angstier. It's, I would say, more like my early books as far as the angst level, but there's still that lightheartedness, I feel like, throughout because it's Landmark Mountain and there's still those same fun characters. And then the next book will be Irresistible, and you've already met the characters you've met the guy, and then someday you'll meet the girl who's going to be in that one too. So I'm excited about that one too.
I'm very excited about that one. I think I know who the characters are going to be. Get a little bit of a peek towards the end.
Yeah.
Of what that's going to be like. Is that going to be more of a enemies to lovers kind of, I'm guessing, with how much they seem to not like each other?
Yes, it is. And yeah, a few other tropes that are yeah. Feel spoilery, but I guess I'll have to expose those at some point before too, but maybe not today.
Well, I am excited to read that book, and I'm excited for everybody to read Someday. Again, that comes out on Thursday, so June 29th. Where can people find that book if they want to go ahead and maybe pre-order it today, or when it does come out on Thursday, where can they go look for it?
It is on Amazon, and the paperback is on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. But yeah, it'll be free in KU too. So
perfect.
It's on Amazon.
Exciting. Well, I am so excited for people to read this book, and just thank you again so much for taking the time out of your day to come on here today. It was so much fun talking with you and talking about these books, and just so glad we were able to make this work.
Me too. Thank you for having me. It's been really fun to see you.
Yes. And you guys make sure that you are following Willow on all of her social media and following me as well. And then subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want to continue to watch more of these episodes of Meet the Author. And until then, you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you guys next time.